Doing well. There's nothing really big going on. No big news about presidents or pedophiles or anything.
No, I really haven't seen anything.
But we do. Yeah, so
No, I was just gonna say the bombshell yesterday was absolutely nuts. It was insane.
I mean, imagine writing a letter to a friend that is like known behind the scenes as an actual pedophile and writing like a sexually explicit letter. I made this analogy yesterday, but it's like saying that I'm not friends with Jeffrey Dahmer. I swear, I didn't know that Jeffrey Dahmer was doing this, but then you find out I wrote a letter to Jeffrey Dahmer and it was like a head on a platter and a knife.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you clearly effing knew what was going on here, right?
Exactly. And Trump's response was so, what's the exact quote? He's like, I don't, not draw pictures.
He's just like, I don't draw. It was
like something, but it was also something like so insanely incompetent where he's like, oh, he said, I don't write pictures or something. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And also just seeing the back end of that story, how hard Trump tried to get it just pushed out. He called the Wall Street Journal editor, the chief editor, and was like trying to kill the story 2-3 days before. And so one of the tweets, Megyn Kelly, the former, I believe, Fox host, tweeted and was like, this is so outwardly ridiculous. It's so clear that it's fake. And I quote tweeted her and I was like, yeah, that's why Donald Trump literally called the chief editor of the Wall Street Journal to try to kill it, because it's just like every other ridiculous fake news story. Like, he clearly seems freaked out by it.
I see your tweet. Breaking. Representative Anna Paulina Luna claims to have evidence that the Biden destroyed materials related to the other. And you said, and I'm 6'8" and I play for the Lakers. Is this one true?
That's right. That's right. Well, yeah, because again, the GOP is like, now they're back to the claims of we're playing 9D chess. There's evidence that the Biden FBI destroyed things. I'm like, we can all live in fantasy land. The Biden DOJ destroyed things. I'm 6'8" and I play for the Lakers. Let's all just start making shit up. It's ridiculous. So I expect nothing to come.
Really quickly, I know it's been a grim week, but we've been behind the scenes setting up a lot of the studio stuff. And I just want to say one more time, welcome to the Chris and Adam show. I know it's a little bit of a new setup, but how do you guys in chat feel? Like, drop a like or drop a comment if you guys are excited for a 3 times a week show. 2 young dudes will bring on guests and we just cover the news live. I'm reading the live chat right now. I can see everything you guys are saying. And I do want to apologize. We did take 1 week off of the show because we had to do actual studio building, but long term, it'll all be worth it. But I'm feeling good today. How are you feeling?
I feel great. It looks incredible
It's
in here.
so
the panels,
sick.
like the setup, we have a screen now. It's amazing. I see everybody in chat throwing some blue hearts in there. It's so good to see everybody.
Everyone's saying banger set, cool.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great. We currently have 2,000 live. Make sure you like the stream and let's jump into the first article. This reads, inside the GOP-led effort to defy Trump on the Epstein files. This was written 35 minutes ago by Axios, and I want to break down some of the dynamics that are happening within the Republican Party. So, Representative Thomas Massie from Kentucky has been leading the way. He's moving forward with plans to force a vote on requiring the release of the Epstein files, despite attempts by Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson to take steam out of his efforts. So, you know what's really funny? They were calling for Matt Gaetz to be the new Attorney General, and it's like, this might be the second or third time over the past few months that we've seen Republicans cover up somebody who was like basically sex trafficking with Matt Gaetz. It's a little bit different wording, but dude, they've covered up in a top-down way 2 people in the past year.
Yeah, I know. It's insane. I haven't even... So this is interesting. You're going to be like teaching me for the first time. It should be cool. You can like... Not teaching me, but I can get the reaction because I haven't read the Axios article.
I haven't either. It just came out.
Oh, okay. So both of us are learning for the first time in real time. That's crazy, though. You're right. Like, I haven't even heard anything about Matt Gaetz being the new Attorney General. I know Pam Bondi. I mean, my prediction is that within the next... Well, we'll see how it plays out, but like Pam Bondi's going to go because they need a head on a stake. So we'll see. But also, obviously, in this, I think that they're going to try to blame like the Democrats in the courts. They're going to say, we tried to unseal all this stuff. That they can't unseal grand jury testimony like they claim they can. And then they're going to be like, oh, look, they're going to use it to hyper-politicize the judiciary and try to expand executive authority and being look at the radical judges that aren't releasing the Epstein. So we'll see. I'm glad that Thomas Massie, I mean, I know he's been a thorn in Trump's side. Is there anybody else in that article?
Yeah, let's keep going. And it's only posted 30 minutes ago, so that's why it's like breaking news.
Yeah.
So that's why I haven't read it. But to continue, the push by Massie and Ro Khanna has proven popular in Congress with most Democrats and some on the GOP's right flank supporting it. It's really interesting to see the dynamics that are popping up because after this article that dropped yesterday, that Trump signed his name as the pubic hair of a drawing, and then on top of that, he wrote a letter about their wonderful secrets or whatever the hell. After that, in a roundabout way, some Republicans are now back on the hoax train, which is really annoying. So Matt Walsh, who's been leading the way on calling out Trump, then tweeted out, "This seems a little bit fake." It's like, really, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't
No,
even mean
you're
to interrupt you. I was actually going to say, like, that was one of my, when I was sitting in the airport. By the way, I'm also live on YouTube right now. My channel's Christy Mowry, and I see people in my chat. I'm looking at it. I appreciate you and love you so much. I was in the airport yesterday, like all day. That's all I was doing, was just, as soon as that story broke, I was just looking at it, tweeting, doing all this stuff, and reading. And my first kind of initial reaction was the potential side effect here that not intended is that MAGA all of a sudden, like you're saying, like Matt Walsh and these people that were leading the charge on the Epstein files, they've all of a sudden come together to just be like, look, the Wall Street Journal's fake. And it's like, it felt like they were really fracturing, and now I don't know where they're at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's bad because they're going to continue to coalesce around. I mean, here's the thing. At the very least, this is going to create less dogmatic Trump supporters, less people who are willing to defend him on every single thing. We're not even asking for 50% of MAGA to defect. We're asking for 3% to just not be in the cult, and that 3% would sway the midterms.
Right, exactly.
But to continue, Democrats spent the week repeatedly trying to force a vote on Khanna's measure, which I think is really clever. This was a really good strategy because it forced Republicans to go on the record and talk about this. And by the way, when they say they're going to release the grand jury testimony, that's not even what they initially promised. They initially promised a client list. And now they're like, we might give you some grand jury testimony, but Trump has the ability, the authority to classify way more through the executive branch.
Right.
So basically they're going through the judiciary to get the little bit of evidence that people didn't even ask for. Meanwhile, Donald Trump isn't going to use.
Yeah, no, exactly. My hope is that I pray that some of those people, first of all, obviously all Democrats, but some of the Republicans, it doesn't get mixed into some BS where it's like, oh, look, this is what he released, and it's just like some grand jury testimony of or some files, but clearly not everything. And they'll be like, look, we released it, everybody move on now. Yeah. And my hope is that people will not fall for that BS, but we'll see.
We have to make sure they don't. I think that's why it's important we are relentlessly pushing back, covering this, and it's not the time to look away. Here,
right.
You can cover multiple things at once. The other day I was talking about Ukraine, and some people were saying, Adam, now's not the time for Ukraine, it's time for Epstein. And I was like, whoa, we can do both at once. Right. We can talk about Ukraine, we can talk about Epstein, but we need to be bringing relentless attention to this. And just as a side, that's why I think this show is going to be a great idea over the next year or so, because you want to know what's interesting? I was looking back at Tim Pool's first ever live stream before he used to pull 100,000 people live, and he had a small studio setup. Now, we don't want to model Tim Pool, but you can see how he evolves into one of the biggest right-wing shows. Think about that on the reverse. Think about us starting off in our studio. It'll slowly get better and better, but as it compounds, as we build our audience, we could be leading the way in pushing back on these narratives. That being said, make sure you drop a like on the stream. Make sure you're subscribed to Chris Mowry on YouTube, Mowrey. And if you don't want to miss a stream going forward, subscribe and turn on that bell. That's post notifications, because this is going to be a fun format. All right, let's continue though. What they're saying, Massie told Axios, must have been today, that these concessions aren't sufficient and that he still plans to move forward with his discharge petition, which forces a House vote on his binding bill if it is signed by 218 members. As with his 2015 push to depose then House Speaker John Boehner, Massie said he intentionally timed it so that the vote can be forced shortly after the lengthy August recess, which is really interesting because Massie is making sure that people are on the record. The reason why it's clever, not even from Massie, from Ro Khanna as well, is because Republicans are going to vote no,
right,
and then their names are on the record voting no.
Right, and that's going to be huge. Again, so much of this is, especially in this new media kind of era, so much of it is, signaling to people like, look, we voted to release the Epstein files. Here's a giant list of every single Republican who voted no, and just hammering that on places like you said, this show, telling your friends and family, clearly they don't want to do this. And it's stunning to see, again, a group of people who voted for a guy who was so adamant about this issue. His supporters, it was so core to this idea, of the deep state. People are coming after Donald Trump. A lot of those people are in the Epstein files. They're this evil cabal of people. And then for him to so suddenly switch on that and say, no, this is going to be something that we have to keep hammering and focusing on and get them on the record. If they don't want to vote for it, it's How could you ever vote for any of these people who clearly, I mean, obviously they've, yo, Alex, thank you so much. That's very kind. Appreciate you a lot. Obviously, none of these people have ever believed in anything. But we've spent so long trying to hammer that home to people that they will switch to whatever is politically advantageous. Look at all these people who told you to vote for Trump because he'd released the Epstein files and exposed the evil cabal of people coming after Trump and the deep state, and then they all flip. So how could you trust him to handle any other issue? How could you trust your representative to handle your economic concerns if they're so willing to just flip on anything that's advantageous?
Yep, and there are a few takeaways from what you just said. First of all, as this happens, a lot of Trump's power base comes from the fact that he has the Republican voter base wrapped around his finger. If he begins to lose that power, then Republicans in Congress will begin to push back. But also, I never, ever in my life, never again in my life do I want to hear Republicans virtue signal about caring about children or wanting to protect children when they are clearly covering up for somebody who has bragged about going into the dressing room when he owned Miss Teen USA and all those pageants. He's bragged about grabbing women because they let you do it when they're a star. This dude has repeatedly shown that he is a disgusting human being, and that was all before this whole blow up where he's being really suspicious. Like a week ago, I was 50-50. I don't know how much I'm sure he's in the files, but I was like 50-50. I don't know how much he actually did. Was Trump one of the leaders of the island or someone who just didn't really? But now his activity has made me incredibly suspicious. And by the way, Greg Campbell said, can you look into Epstein's MC2 modeling agency and any ties to Miss USA under Trump? We were just talking about that. The overlap with pageants and recruitment is too shady to ignore. That's a really good point. We could look at that. And also, who was the other one? Alex Iglesias. Thank you so much for the donation.
Yeah, and Greg, thank you for mentioning that. That is something that we should look at. Maybe we can also plan that for looking into some of those connections on Monday's show as well. Tammy, thank you so much for that as well. Yeah, it's insane. So the question is, will the House? Is there a timeline for this? Like what? Well,
it says right here, so as with his 2015 push to then House Speaker John Boehner, Massie said he intentionally timed it so the vote can be floored shortly after the lengthy August recess.
Okay, got it.
So it seems like they're going to try to do this at a specific time to force the vote, which is low-key, if you're going to be using your power for anything, do it to expose absolute pedophiles.
Thomas Massie is really becoming a thorn in Trump's side. And again, to see if you understand Trump and how he acts, how differently he's acted on this issue. Whether it's, even Thomas Massie is a good example. When Thomas Massie is defying Trump on the big, beautiful bill, you see the same things from Trump, the way he, sends out some giant Truth Social post saying this guy's just a mega loser and has always been a loser and he sucks and I'm going to primary him, as opposed to, in anybody, whether it's a Republican, someone on Fox, a Democrat, he attacks in that same way that I'm amazing, you suck. I am super successful, you suck, I'm going to make sure you lose, as opposed to what we've seen a lot through with Epstein, where you can just tell he just acts so differently when he's asked about this.
Yep.
The lead up to this bombshell from the Wall Street Journal, when he's like, oh, who even cares about Epstein? I don't even know the guy. It's like, that's never how Trump's responded to any of this. He's never been someone to be like, oh, let's just all forget. If somebody is accusing him of something as insane as this, he's, usually just head first attack. This guy's been found liable for sexually abusing a woman and defaming her twice. I talk about this all the time. Disgusting human being. And his how much hate came out of him. He was on his True Social post. He was found liable in civil court twice for defamation because in the middle of the night, he was posting over and over and over again on True Social about this woman that he sexually abused, how she was disgusting, gross, a liar, all these horrible things. And that's always been Trump. And then to take an issue like this with people accusing him of this, with people saying he's covering up the Epstein files, he doesn't take that approach. It's fundamentally different than any other way Trump has ever acted. And I find that fascinating.
Yeah, it's getting pretty eerie out there. I want to touch on Epstein one more time in a second. I want to talk about Colbert for 1 second because this is a little bit scary to me.
Yeah.
Actually, really quickly to touch on Epstein. I think this is actually, thank you so much. I think this is actually kind of prudent because what Epstein has been doing, sorry, not Epstein, what Trump has been doing, what's the difference at this point?
Right.
What Trump has been doing lately regarding Epstein, facilities are still intact. Why are they covering that up? Trump is covering things up across the board, and we can use the model of Epstein because that's like an in to MAGA's mind.
That's interesting.
Like it's an in. Like, hey, MAGA, listen. Trump clearly was lying about Epstein. What else could they be covering up?
Right. And again, I talked to you before the show about, and The Atlantic wrote a great article about this, about how fundamentally different the Epstein issue is for MAGA. Why is this issue different? Why does Trump get ratioed, meaning more comments than likes on his own True Social post over this issue? We've really never seen the core MAGA base turn on Trump like this. Obviously, we see people say, I didn't vote for this, or, you've hurt me with tariffs, or this is not what I imagined with immigration. But the really core MAGA base, why is this issue so different? And a lot of it, again, relates to this like core identity of MAGA, this idea that, Trump's the perpetual victim. There's this deep state coming after him. There's these evil people in government behind the scenes running things. And it ties in perfectly with like the Epstein, all of those people were part of this secret island. It starts to tie into, some QAnon things that we saw with Hillary Clinton, et cetera.
Yeah.
And when you challenge something so fundamental to what Trump's always said, which is like, I am not part of the deep state. The deep state is coming after me. I'm the victim. That's why you should vote for me. When something so fundamental to the movement is questioned, that's why this issue is so different. Because now it's like, oh, is Trump part of the deep state? He's run the last 10 years saying I'm the victim. And that's actually such a beautiful point, is you use that framework and you use that of like, well, if they're lying, if he's always been lying about this, that he's a perpetual victim, what else is he lying about? And all the other things. The Iran strike is a great example. The health issue that clearly he's known about for years. He has to have. And it's also just infuriating because, like, that would be a literal, a month-long news cycle 24/7 for Joe Biden if he announced that. And now it's just like, oh yeah, Trump just has a problem that he's probably known about forever. No one wants to talk about it, but okay.
And I'm starting to wonder if this Trump guy is a bit of a liar.
Really?
Yeah, maybe.
I've thought about it. I've considered it. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Really quickly, I want to talk about Colbert in just 1 second because it's important, but we just got news that Trump, let me pull this up really quickly.
Yo, thanks everybody in here. The chat's going crazy. We love you so much. Also, the people in my chat being so kind. I appreciate you. JC, thanks for being here. Annabelle, love the new studio. I love you.
You guys are the best. One more time for the people just joining. The Chris and Adam Show will be a new news show that is run 3 times a week. We tested it a bit out last week, and now we're building the studio, we're building the infrastructure, and we want you guys to join us while we go live. We can read your comments. I see everybody commenting, SW, Tom, Bella, Italian. You guys are the absolute best. We are running this out of Chicago, and we're going to build a pretty good dynamic. We're obviously early on in the show. No show is going to be perfect on episode 3, but imagine if we can continue to push the envelope. By episode 100 in the midterms, we will be punching back so hard. We'll bring people on and debate them. If you want to help support the show, you can just drop a like, go over to Chris D. Mowry on YouTube, subscribe to him. On Instagram, subscribe to the Adam Mockler channel below. And if you want the members only show after, just become a member. We'll be going live for 20 minutes after this, talking about some of our experiences behind the scenes. But we just saw a clip. Donald Trump walks past reporters.
Did this just happen?
Yeah, this just happened 19 minutes ago.
Okay.
Donald Trump walks past reporters asking him about the Epstein files. We can't hear it, but they're all asking him. Oh, he's walking fast. He's walking fast.
He didn't even, dude, that's so crazy to see this live. Again, I obviously haven't seen this clip. That this just happened. Again, like, just this alone is so different than how Trump acts on any issue.
Yep.
If a reporter says something to him that he sees as ridiculous, how many times have we seen Trump been like, that's BS, what, news, are you part of CNN? Oh, it's fake, you should be fired. And it's like all these reporters being like, Epstein files, he just doesn't answer.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's pretty suspicious, huh?
Some MAGA in chat said, you damn libs. I'm sorry. We're watching a video of Trump running off because he doesn't want to talk about his pedophilic friend. The libs are the ones that are wrong? Jesus Christ. And also, the reason why he's running off right here is because, do you remember there was a clip of him like 2 days ago in the same spot? Somebody asks him, let me try to find this clip. Somebody asks him, like, what's your connection to the Epstein files? And he just runs off. He straight up
again, it's so fundamentally different. And again,
This was from a few days ago.
Okay.
Somebody asks him, what are your views? And he just straight up walks off. You can't hear it. Sorry, the audio is something that we have to get figured out on here. Someone said darn libs. Okay, we'll figure out the audio next time. But Donald Trump was dodging this question very clearly.
Yeah, no, yeah. And it just like, would you special counsel? But again, it's so crazy in all this too, where he's just, I can't believe more people, even if You zoom all the way out and you're like, I don't think it's a cover up. Trump's fine. How can you look at the president of the United States? I'm pretty sure there's a clip similar to this, or this clip where he's like, says something like along the lines of, quote, I have nothing to do with it.
That is this clip.
Okay,
yeah.
it is. Yeah. He says, I have nothing to do with it. It's like anybody who, I don't know, understands anything and is the president of the United States has nothing to do with it. Like, that should never be words. There should never be words uttered by any president on any issue. If something is happening in your government, if something is happening in the country, you definitely have something, like, you should have some response besides, quote, I have nothing to do with it. Like he is the leader of the free world and issues come up in his government. He's like, I have no idea. It's like, who does have it? Like, that is crazy.
Are you telling me not every president has a pedophilic friend who he was writing letters to back in 2003 and lewd drawings while the pedophilic friend was raping women? Not women, young girls in his place? Like, it's insane.
Exactly. And again, just to see Trump's, he's wanted this story dead so bad. For him to call the Wall Street Journal and be like, the editor 2 days before and threatened to sue on the phone. It's like, wow, that's crazy.
Absolutely wild. And I love the fact that people are pushing back. Other right-wing hardliners are using GOP leadership's non-binding resolution as a cover not to sign, arguing that Trump won't sign a bill with an actual law like the Massie kind of measure. So Republicans are saying Trump won't sign this. And you know what I find hilarious too? Regarding the Wall Street Journal article yesterday, where Trump is writing, let me actually pull this up.
Pull this up, and while you do, Cass, Malo. I can't.
Malalo.
I can't see that well. Maybe I need glasses. Wow, Chris and Adam, that studio looks sick. Very nice work. Wow, great reporting. Greetings from Canada. I love you, friends from the North. You are the best. Thank you so much. Again, that level of support goes such a long way, and it's a lot of the reason we have. You guys can give some shout outs to Hayden behind the screen, who's doing a lot of work for us. He's the best, and all the work we've put into this studio. This is going to be just keep growing, keep getting better.
Shout out to producer Hayden. Genuinely could not do it without him. The glue that holds us together. But let's read this script that Donald Trump wrote for Epstein. By script, I mean this isn't a real conversation I'm about to read. This is an imaginary conversation Donald Trump wrote in almost a screenplay fashion. So he starts it off by saying, voiceover. There must be more to life than having everything, the note began. Donald, yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey, nor will I, since I also know what it is. Is it liking underage girls? I don't know.
Dude, that is such a...
Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. This is bad. It's like, again, if I were friends with Jeffrey Dahmer, and I'm like, we have certain things in common, Mr. Dahmer.
There's never been a more incriminating... Like, it couldn't be any more incriminating.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like,
it gets worse, though. Yes, we do, come to think of it. Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? As a matter of fact, Jeffrey says, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Donald, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful secret.
It's genuinely like, first of all, when this broke and I was in the airport, I was like, first of all, it's just like genuinely, obviously just disgusting. Like just thinking about this and being written and it's just like, ugh, it's so gross. But in that, like, again, it's like, that is nuts. It's nuts. And it's great reporting by the Wall Street Journal.
You want to know the funniest part of it? MAGA's primary defense of this was Trump isn't smart enough to use the word enigma.
I know. It's like, dude, that cannot be a good sign.
Yeah. Like, are you trying to imply that our president is smart enough to read or write? Not our president.
Yeah, that's right. I've never seen it. You're right. I thought that was so funny. I saw people say that, and it's like, okay.
That's their primary defense of it.
And that's when you know it's bad. That's when you know it's bad. When their primary defense is that. It's like, wow, this is really a bombshell. Wow, Jimmy, thank you so much for sending 5 gifted memberships. Again, we're going to have a members only show after this, and it goes such a long way. Thank you.
You guys
so much,
are the
Jimmy.
best. Pamela, thank you so much. Michael Sweet, thank you. You guys are deep state agents. Yo, received a gift membership from Jimmy. Jimmy, you are the absolute best. We are doing a members only show after this, so if you want to catch the members only show, become a member below. One more time, the Chris and Adam show. I'm really liking this.
It's incredible, and again, for my on my channel right now, you guys are killing it right now. I don't think I have subscription set up on my channel yet, but I will get that set up, and we will also have the members only.
And by the way, if you're sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, you're fine.
Chris D. Mowry, go check it out. We'll put your thing in the description too. But if you are just watching for the first time, just know that we are doing this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Everyone get a pen and paper. and write this down. Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
That's right. Really quickly, if I may, I want to move to something that I find interesting, and maybe you can pull it up and we can talk about it. Is also how the as we try to do this podcast in relation to you talking about growing this podcast is, we are trying to compete against what a lot of people see as, I describe it on this channel as MAGA media. MAGA media, the Manosphere, if you will. And with the Epstein issue, we've seen the Manosphere almost start to flip on Trump, which I find very interesting. This Manosphere, the three, I think we might be able to pull up. Oh, you have it. Fantastic. MAGA-friendly Manosphere turns heat on Trump over Epstein's scandal. If you scroll down just a little bit, just to the pictures, just scroll up, perfect. So you look to the left. That's Andrew Schultz, who comes on and says, like, this isn't what I voted for, which there's a lot of different directions you go with that. It's like, what do you mean by that? But whatever. Andrew Schultz, that's a big deal. Right? The middle, Shane Gillis. I know a lot of people are talking about the ESPYs, where he very clearly made a joke that, the Epstein files were deleted now. And he clearly is like, oh, let's all move on from this. It's not a big deal, signaling it is a big deal. And then all the way to the right, that's Theo Vaughn. Theo Vaughn had Donald Trump on his podcast and JD Vance on the podcast. And he actually quote tweeted said something to JD Vance on Twitter and said, essentially, what happened? You said the Epstein files were going to be released. And I think that this is, again, very indicative of what we're talking about here as we compete with these individuals. Compete, I guess, is the best word to use, because this is this media atmosphere, a lot of what won Trump the election. But it's always good to see them, essentially call Trump out. And it's so you don't see it on any other issue.
And what we need to be doing is reaching out into these spaces as well. So Ro Khanna recently went on Andrew Schultz's podcast. Today, James Tallarico went on Joe Rogan. James Tallarico on Joe Rogan is going to be great. It's going to be so good. What I think we need to do is go into these spaces a little bit more and make sure that we're presenting our side. Because Andrew Schultz, I know that he was MAGA during the election. He was supporting Trump. But since then, multiple people have come on his show, Democrats, and just talked to him normally. And he was like, wait a minute, I never even thought of it like that. So the thing that I find is a lot of times some people in my comment section, not even most people, they'll say, Adam, there's no point in talking to these people, platforming these people, or having discussions with these people. Anybody who voted for Trump, block them out. You can't change their mind. But I disagree. When somebody has a huge platform like Joe Rogan, we're not going to convert Joe Rogan to like a Biden lover, but Joe Rogan can start to display a little bit of skepticism that goes downstream to the 12 million viewers he gets per episode. Right. So we can't be complaining about not having influence in the space, but then ceding ground by being too scared to go in this space.
Right, no, exactly. And again, so much of it people have to realize is that those individuals in this space are not looked at by their viewers as these like massive MAGA people. Mm-hmm. They have skepticism, or at least displayed some amount of skepticism, maybe not nearly enough.
No, not enough at all.
Some amount about Trump. They won't talk so... They talk highly of him, but it's not so cult-like, if you will. And it's those little things for them where they just end up kind of viewing Trump as this. Their viewers end up viewing Trump as he's not perfect, but he's like a cool guy, et cetera, which obviously is all bullshit. But if you're able to go into those spaces and just, again, get a little bit of skepticism to the 12 million viewers, say, yeah, we can actually agree on that. And a lot of people, I go live on TikTok and I debate Trump supporters sometimes for fun. I was live last night after the airport. And what you start to realize is that some people just have never even interacted. They're so in a bubble. They haven't even interacted with a Democrat. The amount of times I've been out in Chicago and people are like, I literally thought you were just not a real human being. Like, you're actually a cool guy. You're cool to hang out with. And it's like, you've planted the seed where it's like, oh, they've never even been around a Democrat. No. They just think we're like a bunch of losers, I guess. I don't know. It's all very interesting. By the way, seeing a lot of stuff flood in here. Michael, thank you so much for $20. Sorry to cut you off. Why do the networks bow down to Trump when he has a record? Sorry, I can't read my eyes.
Why do networks bow down to Trump when he has a record like the New York Jets when it comes to court cases? Because at this very moment, Donald Trump can leverage the executive branch to stop certain things from happening. So when it comes to Paramount, they are going to be merging with a company soon, and Donald Trump and the FEC can actually block that merger. So a lot of these companies are either, number one, too scared for executive overreach. Number two, they don't want to go in the discovery phase. For some of them, going into the discovery phase means you end up digging up a bunch of files, communications, texts. That's just something that costs a lot of money. There's also the return. So the return on investment of ABC News paid Trump $15 million.
Yep.
If that trial would have continued and they didn't settle, they probably would have paid $60 million, like 4 times as much. So I'm not defending it. They shouldn't have settled or bowed the knee. For democracy, you push back no matter how much it costs. But those are likely the reasons. It's because Trump is an actual dictator.
Right.
Now, really quickly, sorry. Some people in chat were pushing back and trying to say, someone said, going into these spaces is important, having conversations in a democracy is important, but someone was comparing it to the Young Turks or saying, this is a bad idea, don't talk to them at all. The idea that we can have a democratic strategy where we are not reaching out to comedians or median voters or random people and we can win people over is insane. What Cenk Uygur did from the Young Turks is he played buddy-buddy with Charlie Kirk on stage and didn't push back against the topics. What Chris and I are talking about are going into these spaces with the sole intention of spreading our ideals, explaining the actual truth about immigration, that Democrats don't want illegal immigrants pouring in for votes, that we actually want a nuanced view. If we're able to fill these spaces, then that doesn't leave a vacuum for Trump to take the most far-right position. I think it's incredibly short-sighted when I see comments like, shut down conversation, there's no point in chatting with them. It's like, really? 80 million people, 70 million people, no point in chatting?
Right. I agree. And I also think that like even in that, even if you were to still disagree, it's important to remember that like the Democrat Party at this point, if when you just do a poll of like, how do you feel about the DNC Democrats, like our approval rating, the party's approval rating is at an all-time low. And so I also come to the argument of like, we're in, I don't want to, fearmonger in this way, but like obviously our country is really, really started to change. As you mentioned, like we see, when Donald Trump is signing executive orders against law firms, when he's settling, ABC News is settling, colleges are bending the knee because the executive branch is literally wielding its power to pressure people politically. There's law firms now, several, that have given over $100 million in pro bono work to the Trump administration for issues that he finds important forever, far after he gets out of office. And the analysis there for those law firms is we don't want to do this, but if he comes after us with executive orders because we're not politically aligned with him, it'll cost us this much, and $100 million will cost us this much, so let's just do this. And so you start to look at some of those factors, like democracy is really being challenged right now, and so you have to just start throwing shit at the wall. Even if people in this chat are going to be in disagreement about the idea that we go into other spaces, it's like we all have to. I'm willing to try things that I don't disagree, that I don't agree with in terms of strategy, because at this point it's like, how much do we really have to lose here? I mean, we're building from the ground up. The DNC is like, trying to figure it out. Democrats obviously have been a little bit in shambles since the election. And so it's like, let's just start fucking trying shit that we haven't tried.
Well, someone said you are trying a strategy that has never worked before. When has going into enemy spaces ever worked? Here's a good example. Donald Trump, during the 2024 election, did an interview with anybody who had a microphone. Who won both the popular vote and the electoral college? The dude who did a bunch of media. This isn't me praising Donald Trump. I'm just talking about his strategy working. Bernie Sanders went on Joe Rogan's show in 2019, and then Joe Rogan endorsed Bernie Sanders after that. He gave Bernie his endorsement. The idea that we shouldn't even reach into these spaces because it's never worked is silly. I'm sorry. Pete Buttigieg went on Fox News 3 months ago. Pete Buttigieg went viral for owning a Fox host. If your argument's going to be that Pete Buttigieg should not go on Fox, there's no reality where we should shut Fox News, or Pete Buttigieg should never talk to them, never tell them the truth. Joe Rogan should never have another Democrat on again. I am going to shrivel up in the corner and never do another debate where I spread my views. That's your winning strategy. And I'm not ranting at like the audience right now. I'm just ranting at like one specific commenter who was like, when has this ever worked? But let's pivot back a little bit to the Epstein case, because we just got some breaking news. FBI agents were told to flag any Epstein records that mention Trump, Senator Durbin says. We learned this morning that FBI agents assigned to review files in the criminal case against Jeffrey Epstein were instructed to flag any documents that mentioned President Donald Trump. Durbin asked the Justice Department and the FBI to explain what his office called, quote, apparent discrepancies regarding handling of the Epstein files and findings from a Justice Department
Wow,
memo.
I also haven't. I mean, I saw a headline of this, but I really hadn't looked at it. So is he claiming? So he's claiming that he has. Where are those documents coming from? Is Dick Durbin saying he had like? Can you? I'm sorry. Read the first part again.
It says FBI agents assigned to review files in this criminal case were instructed to flag any documents. Durbin asked the Justice Department and FBI to explain what his office called discrepancies regarding handling of the Epstein files and findings from the memo.
I really want to see what Dick Durbin has in terms of like that, how he found that information. I mean, obviously, I'm sure it's I'm not questioning that the information exists. I'm sure it does.
Wait, we have his original letter. Can we read it real quick?
Yeah.
Let's see. It's 5 pages, but we'll just skim through it a bit.
Wow, that's wild. I mean, obviously, again, not a surprise. Where it's like they're going to maybe they're going to try to release some files, but obviously, like there's so many files that are going to mention Trump in some capacity. They're just not going to release. Let's see this. So is this the letter from Dick Durbin to?
Yep, to Kash Patel.
Okay.
Someone said, "I love Pete on Fox News. It's actually changed my mind a bit." See? Like going. If you would rather have Pete not go on Fox News, I'm sorry, it's a bad strategy. But that's something that kind of personally pisses me off. You can probably tell because I argue about this a lot. Sometimes I make videos about Joe Rogan and people are like, I never want to see you talk about Joe Rogan again. And it's like, really? He's starting to like...
He's the most he's the most popular podcast in the world.
But also he did run a lot of defense for Trump and was MAGA, of course, but like he's not someone like Charlie Kirk who's just bought and paid for.
Right,
But to continue,
exactly.
This reads, Dear Director Patel, this is from Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, right? On July 7th, the Justice Department, the DOJ, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation released an unsigned memorandum regarding the Trump admin's exhaustive review of investigative holdings relating to Jeffrey Epstein. This memorandum made 2 official findings. 1, the systemic review found no incriminating client list. And 2, after a thorough investigation, FBI investigators concluded that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his cell. The first finding directly contradicts public statements Attorney General Pam Bondi has repeatedly made. On February 21st on Fox News, she said that they have the client list, essentially. So then he continues, according to information my office received, Attorney General Bondi pressured the FBI to put approximately 1,000 personnel in its IMD, including the Record Information Dissemination Section, which handles all requests submitted to the public under the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, and Privacy Act. It says, on 24-hour shifts, these people were put to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records in order to produce more documents that could be released on arbitrarily short deadline. This effort, which reportedly took place from March 14th through the end of March, was haphazardly supplemented by hundreds of FBI New York field office personnel, many of whom lacked the expertise. My office was told these personnel were instructed to flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. Damn.
Wow.
Notably,
I'm reading with you, by the way.
In 2002, Mr. Trump said of Mr. Epstein, I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. I think the only more damning thing than this could be if Trump somehow wrote a letter of a naked woman to the same guy.
Right, exactly.
Wait a minute, this actually happened. To continue, after this quote, just yesterday, it was reported that the DOJ reviewed a leather-bound album comprised of dozens of letters. The letters were collected and they were never released. I see exactly what Dick Durbin is saying. The FBI, in a top-down manner, was instructed to cover up any mentions of Trump. So when they came across this binder and it mentioned Trump, they immediately covered it up. Wow.
And this is truly like, I had seen the headline. I hadn't read this letter. This is like truly a massive bombshell. I mean, again, this is very specific information from Dick Durbin. According to information my office received, again, this broke just I think an hour or two ago this morning. That this is very specific information that these FBI they put approximately 1,000 personnel in its information management division, including the record information dissemination section, which handles all requests submitted by the public under the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, and Privacy Act on 24-hour shifts to review 100,000 Epstein-related records in order to produce more documents that could be released on an arbitrarily short deadline. This effort, which reportedly took place from March 14th through the end of March, was supplemented by hundreds of FBI New York field office personnel, and then they were instructed to flag any records in which Trump was mentioned. So this is a claim that essentially a bunch of people who are not really trained to be reviewing these documents. 1,000 people, 1,000 FBI agents were essentially told, review a bunch of these documents so we can get them out there, and if they mention Trump, flag them, and then they must have been pushed up. That is incredibly specific information from Dick Durbin, and that's, again, pretty stunning, but not surprising. And I think the question then becomes, for me, if there was somebody in this room who is MAGA, it's like, where do their beliefs even lie about the files themselves? Because this is what we've heard from anybody in Trump realm, which is that obviously the files exist and we're going to release them. The files don't exist we're not going to release them, like, because there's no files. The files do exist, but they're written by Obama and Biden and Democrats. And now we're at the stage where files do exist. Like, I don't know. If I was MAGA, I'd just even be like, what is a file at this point? We've claimed so many different things about files existing, not existing. They're written by Democrats, but the Democrats, we don't want to release the files written by Democrats. We could release the files written by Democrats. They'd all be, you just have to decide it was fake, but we're not going to do that. It's just, it's stunning. It's truly insane. And the other thing I also find interesting really quickly is that, again, I keep talking about how fundamentally different this is from Donald Trump. Donald Trump will say when something is fake news, when there's a hoax, he'll say, I'm going to prosecute these people. We're going after these people. He was at Alligator Alcatraz saying, we're going to look into prosecuting CNN for their fake news. We're going to look into prosecuting I forget exactly what news agency released the information about Iran. We're going to prosecute these people. And then he makes the claim that the files were created by Democrats. And I was kind of oddly stunned that he wasn't like, they were created by Biden and Obama. We're going to prosecute Obama and Biden, or Biden and Obama. It's like he just claimed these files were created by Democrats as a hoax and then doesn't want to prosecute them for it. I'm like, he wants to prosecute every other person that exists on the planet for everything, but not this. So it's fascinating. Fascinating.
Some MAGA troll in the chat said, this pod makes me want to vote for MAGA. Trump sounds great. Do not let this commenter within 200 feet of a school. We're reading him stuff about the Epstein files, and this dude's saying, this makes me want to vote for MAGA.
Yeah,
this MAGA voter, or this Trump supporter in the chat, yikes, bro. If this makes you want to vote for MAGA. Yep. By the way, you can subscribe to Chris Mowry's channel in the chat. We're linking it right now.
And I'm at 500 viewers on my channel right now. You guys are so kind. Insane. Annabelle, thanks for the kind words. Jeffrey, literally as I'm speaking, just dropped a $20 super chat in my chat. I appreciate you so much. And you guys have been showing so much support here. Again, all of this, it's never, that type of monetary donation is never expected. Just know that any of that type of stuff is being reinvested straight into the studio. And I hope you can see a lot of that here with our setup. It's just going to keep getting better. And we have so many cool things coming. We're going to have people in the studio. We're going to have members only streams where we're actually like out in public, possibly around Chicago, maybe going out. We're talking about setting up a call-in line so people both people who are opposed to us and you guys can actually call in on the live show and we can chat. All these different things. We have so many different ideas that we've been writing down, planning, getting set up, and it's really exciting. And we literally couldn't do any of it without you. So thank you guys so much. We love all of you. You guys are so, so kind.
The best. Also, members only show coming after. But first, this is some really funny news. I love Newsom lately. Newsom ready to pursue lawsuit against Fox News host despite on-air apology. Jesse Waters apologized, and Newsom's like, nope, I don't care.
Wait, Fox apologized?
Yeah, so California governor accuses Jesse Waters.
Republicans apologize. Fox News about what is going on?
It's literally to save his job because remember, Tucker Carlson lost his job due to the lawsuit. And on Thursday, Jesse Waters issued an apology on his program stemming from a $787 million defamation lawsuit filed by Newsom.
Dude, that's so amazing.
Jesse Waters was forced to apologize. Now, we knew about this lawsuit, but the lawsuit mirrors the Dominion lawsuit perfectly with the defamation.
Which was the largest defamation lawsuit of all time that they lost.
Because they lied about damn election fraud. It's wild. But Newsom contended that Waters intentionally manipulated his reporting to make it seem as though the governor had lied about a phone call he had with Trump. On June 10th, Trump said he spoke with Newsom a day ago, but it was actually multiple days ago, and it was a complete lie. The whole phone call was a lie.
That's crazy. So does it have the quote there from Jesse Waters or no?
Of what he said on air? Let's see.
I'm sorry. I've never seen Jesse Waters apologize for anything in my life. I mean, I don't know. It kind of bring me like, it'd make me really smile on this Friday if I saw Jesse Waters being like, I want to issue an apology for something I said. That might make me the happiest human ever. Maybe we'll have to try and find it and pull it up. But that's awesome. I love to see Democrats fighting back and out. Gavin Newsom saying, we're not going to play BS. We're not going to do bullshit.
Gavin Newsom has won me over a lot. I mean, in all candidness, like a year ago, I was still skeptical about him running on the national stage and representing the party. Not because I was skeptical of his ability. I know he's a talented politician, but I think there's an Achilles heel for someone like that where people can just say, do you want your state to look like California? And California is a beautiful state, but people will say that. and then be like, wait a minute. Now, Gavin Newsom's response will be California is like the largest economy in the country. We backpack every single red state. We carry red states on our back. Not only California, but Illinois. All of the blue states carry red states on their back. So it's a bad talking point. But I was a little bit skeptical a year ago that not Jesse Waters, I was reading that right there, that Gavin Newsom could punch back like this, but he's proven it. He's proven it. He's a beast. And I think people are beginning to realize he's a beast.
I'm actually fully with you here. I had the same skepticism, especially, again, I love Gavin Newsom and his ability not only to fight back on air when he's gone on Fox before, but also stuff like this. Again, this is in this kind of era where Democrats are trying to find themselves. It's not a difference between ideology, leftists and liberals. It's a difference between fighters and people who don't fight. And Gavin Newsom is fighting. Again, I agree. There is a little bit of an Achilles heel there. And Gavin Newsom comes from, he's from California.
Yeah.
Quite, his family is wealthy. I think that there's no problem with that, but it's very easy. The talking points of like, hey, this is a California elite. You don't want to be like California. And so I also agreed with some of this early skepticism. But to see the ways that he fights and cares is really great. And to see stuff like this, I don't know, it brings a smile to my face. I don't know what you guys think, but Adam and I are pretty sold here on Gavin Newsom. I like Gavin. I always have. But there is some, gotta be ready for the MAGA claims against any given person. But they'll say that about anyone. I like AOC a lot. They say AOC is X, Y, or Z. They say, every Democrat ever is a communist, horrible, is going to burn down the world. So maybe that's not really an Achilles heel for Gavin Newsom. What are you doing? Sorry, I just looked up.
My face when someone says they don't like Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, dude, Gavin Newsom. I love Gavin.
Sorry for the jump scare on screen, everybody.
Newsom for president.
Really quickly, Kim Stewart said, y'all just made my Friday. Thanks from Austin. Thank you so
Kim.
much, Kim Stewart. It
You're
means
the
more
best.
than you know. I'm glad that this show is connecting with people. I mean, we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, putting it together, and I'm glad people are enjoying this. Really quickly, thank you for the membership, Point Dexter. Thank you for the membership, Stephanie McGee. You guys are the best.
Yeah, you guys are incredible.
Ooh,
True.
someone said
It goes-
Buttigieg over Newsom.
Well, really quickly, first of all, BB, $5 in my super chat. I appreciate you so much. You and Adam make a great team. I love you. You're amazing. Thanks for making our Friday. You're the best. Yeah, interesting. So, inherently, to be honest, again, and I want to be clear, there's not any Democrats I don't like. I like all.
It's just preference
all
at
these
this
people.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
preference.
we're on the same team.
I would probably take Buttigieg over Newsom.
Yeah.
But also goes a lot of different ways. I don't know. I feel bad. I feel like I'm like.
Okay, here's the thing. In an ideal world, I would take Buttigieg over Newsom, but I think Newsom might be more electorally viable.
I agree.
Pete Buttigieg, a lot of the polling shows that he's not quite as popular as he should be with black communities or certain communities due to his homosexuality. This is what the polling shows. Not just black community, but like a lot of people across America are predisposed. But there was just a recent poll for 2028, and Gavin Newsom was crushing. Pete Buttigieg was popular among Democrats. But there are certain there's certain areas where homophobia, like right-wingers, people in the rural areas, homophobia is still
and genuinely,
real.
I do want to say that it is something I talk about a lot off stream too. Is like that just generally makes you sad in this time in America. Obviously, we've all known that like you have to have conversations about who's electorally viable and who's not based on either who they love or if they're a woman or their race.
Yep.
Obviously, there's a lot of people who didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman or because she's not white. And I've talked to those people before, and it's just, it's always hard conversation to have about like electoral viability because Pete Buttigieg is so great at what he does, and
He's
it's just,
so good.
but that's also part of why we do what we do to keep fighting against bullshit like that. We're obviously huge supporters of the LGBTQ plus community and. We'll see. But he's great at what he does. And
I
also,
love
he
him.
fights back so hard. And he goes into some of those Manosphere spaces as well.
Oh, Pete Buttigieg is really good at it too. Yeah, he's really solid. And it's disappointing that America's not past homophobia. It feels like we've kind of regressed a bit, and maybe this is like it feels like there was a time, maybe this was a naive time, but when gay marriage was legalized, it felt like we were making progress. And now we've regressed where people are more openly homophobic than they would have been in a different era. And that is quite disappointing in my opinion.
I agree.
But I think Pete Buttigieg still has and
again, you never know. When people have these conversations, it's always good to zoom out and say 2028 is
Let's check the polls.
so far away. It's also indicative of how much we already hate Trump. We've been having these conversations since like March. It's like, dude, he's been in office for 3 months, which obviously now it's been, it's still only been like, I don't even know, 8 months. It's really actually kind of depressing that we have longer to go. But yeah, it's going to be a long way. Someone may come out of nowhere that none of us have ever heard of. Regardless, whoever the nominee is will be fantastic. And we have so many fantastic, amazing people to pick from. Truly. But also, Charlie, thank you so much for the $50 super chat. That is so
amazing.
Kind. I wish everyone amazing hair, a great weekend that rejuvenates you and feeds you the soup of the day, the tears of your enemies. Subscribe and follow Adam and Chris. Am I reading that?
Let's go.
Yeah, that was pretty powerful. Thank you so much. Really goes such a long way.
Let's read some of this. Democrats who will run for 2028 are already quietly, and not so quietly, making moves, which is normal. The two leaders, according to the article I was just reading, are Pete Buttigieg and Gavin Newsom. They're visiting early primary states, workshopping material and formulating plans. This week, it's Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear in South Carolina. Last week, it was California Governor Gavin Newsom. Really, really interesting here. Let's see with Gavin Newsom. Why could he win and why would he have trouble? Newsom had a real breakout moment over the response to what was going on in Los Angeles a couple weeks ago, and that very quickly identified him in people's minds as the face of the actual resistance to what Trump was doing, rather than just talking about it. He's a very skilled retail campaigner and speaker, but there are obstacles he'll have to overcome. People who think he's maybe too California. This is exactly what we were saying. He was the mayor of San Francisco, too liberal in some people's minds, too slick. Actually, I used to use, I think that's a good word. I love Newsom, but I see that.
Yep.
I can see how there's a perception. Just having a California air to him, all that is stuff that he needs to overcome. All that stuff is what he needs to overcome. Other than Kamala Harris, there's never been a Democratic nominee from the West Coast. I actually think Newsom would be
Wow, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Kamala Harris, how could she do? She's obviously thinking about running for governor. And I've done reporting that says she's leaning in that direction. What is clear, that she and her closest advisors realize you can't run for governor and then turn around and run for president, so it's one or the other. Here's this. Pete Buttigieg. The Bernie Sanders folks would still protest this, but Buttigieg did win the Iowa caucuses and he came in a healthy second. He has spent the first 6 months of Trump's second presidency doing a lot of podcasts and outreach that would be classified as these days as the Manosphere, what we were saying, or the Republican-leaning or low-propensity voters. That's the good way to put it. Someone in chat earlier was saying you can't convert anybody, but by definition, low propensity voters are people who don't pay attention or turn out that much.
Yeah.
So by definition, these are people that are easily winnable. Now, this reads, he is regularly embraced by Democrats for the way he's able to break down Democratic arguments and break apart Republican arguments. That said, his jobs leading up to now have been mayor of a pretty small city and then transportation secretary. Part of his theory when he was running in 2018, and I talked to him about then, was that we are living in the age of Donald Trump politics, where it's more about what you're able to do and how you're able to communicate what you're doing than exactly the job that you've done. I think the two top contenders will be Buttigieg and Newsom.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting.
So two things. Number one, and I've said this because people talk about it a lot, and I don't know how unpopular it would be. I like Kamala Harris a lot. I would very much support her running in 2028, but people have, obviously many thoughts about that. In terms of these two, the thing about Buttigieg that you said that the thing that you said about low propensity voters, and we've had this conversation about going on the Manosphere. These people can't be converted, or they can be. By definition, they're low propensity. They can be. Again, going on TikTok Live, and again, I do this for kind of for fun, but also because I am so obsessed with understanding other people's viewpoints and why certain people voted the way they did, because everyone has slightly different reasons. And I've seen live. I've done it. Like, it's watched people convert essentially in real time. I don't know that convert's the right word, but start to clearly question their own beliefs and then come back to me later. There's an entire family. I know this, this might not sound that big of a deal, but there was an entire family in Colorado leading up to the election. I remember this vividly, that I flipped. They were, all four of them were going to vote for Trump, and they voted for Harris. And a lot of that was, and again, I don't want to signal these individuals as low propensity, but again, a lot of what I'm saying and like what I notice is that when you get in front of people and act like a human being,
you talk to them.
A lot of the division is so bad. They just, again, a lot of people just view all Democrats as this, or this. But if you talk to them and you're, sometimes you have to deal with, BS, or you have to kind of let certain things slide that you wouldn't. But if you're like, yeah, okay, I understand where you're coming from. I really disagree because of this, and this is why. They're like, oh, this guy could be my neighbor. This guy could be, you know, the guy who works at the gas station. This could be my friend. And you kind of, again, plant that seed. And I think Buttigieg has done that so well. So yeah, I agree. Buttigieg and Newsom, we will see.
There's a few good questions in there. Someone said, why are you guys talking about Pete when he already said he won't run? I don't think Pete actually put that foot down yet. He just did a campaign, or he just did an event in Iowa, like literally a month ago that I was there for. And now he's continuing to campaign. So he might have like wrote it off a bit, but he's absolutely on the trail in some capacity. At the very minimum, he's using this to boost his name recognition for the next cycle.
Right.
We had another one. Could J.D. Vance win as a presidential candidate? Could he? Of course. It really just depends on how the election goes.
Right, and that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, I mean, like, could he hypothetically? Yeah, but if this is off the back of 4 years of people being tired of Trump, tired of Epstein, tired of all this, I think his odds of winning go down.
I agree.
He doesn't have the charisma Trump had, like charisma, quote unquote, to get the MAGA fan base wrapped
The
around
most.
his finger.
He's not the most authentic, least authentic person to ever exist. That's what I call Trump. It's like, people view him as charismatic, and honest, even though he's the exact opposite. But also in that, assuming Trump doesn't run for a third term, we've talked about that a little bit before. Yeah, J.D. Vance, I guess that's like their only option, but he sucks.
Someone said, this is a good question. How do you know America will not put in a gay man? I mean, if Donald Trump is one, it's a good question. We don't know for sure. We don't know, and I think that it's worth Pete running. But I think that it would be naive to say it's not a sort of something that will be on people's, like, not people's, but like, it's a worry to have for electoral viability. And it sucks that it's that way. I'm just saying, like, the cold, hard reality of American politics. It's like saying that people didn't vote for Kamala because they're racist. I'm not saying that that's fine. I'm just prescriptively saying.
Right. You're being
descriptive.
You're making a declarative statement.
Yeah,
it just is, which again sucks. But Pete Buttigieg is great. Again, thank you guys so much. Someone just said, I think, a cold morning in Australia. That might have been $15. We appreciate you so much. And thanks from Australia. That's insane. You guys are the best. Also, really quickly, I'm going to mention this because Adam has it.
Oh, shit.
So Adam's wearing this right now, but we also have been working on actual merchandise for the show. So this is a No King shirt. So I'm going to get this in the camera. This is a No King shirt. And on the side, it says Mockler Media. Is like, I know this is super far away and you can't see this, but I wanted to throw it out there that we have been working a lot behind the scenes as well on some interesting merchandise and this Mockler Media idea. There's a
politician sitting in between us.
Yep.
And it's going to be.
We have that down the pipeline. We won't talk too much about it, but it's going to be. There's going to be some really cool stuff, and we'll see. I'm going to push Adam a bit for this because I'm the type of person who's like, we're going to go out in Chicago. This might be a members only thing, and I'm going to be like, Adam, someone hold a camera, give me a microphone, get me like 1 or 2 drinks in Wrigleyville, and I'm just going to start going up to people. We're going to do just live raw interviews. There's going to be so much fun to have. We're going to build a culture. We're obviously going to do, focus so heavily on the news, and it's going to be fun. And I'm going to push you to go out to Wrigleyville and pull out a camera and start debating Trump supporters.
We'll do it. It's going to happen this summer. We're going to go members only and talk a little bit about some stuff behind the scenes, but I love all of you guys. I appreciate all of you guys. The Chris and Adam Show, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Chris Mowry's channel on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter is all Chris D. Mowry. Make sure you have post notifications on below, and you can find us anywhere. There is a Reddit for Adam Mockler. There is a Substack, adammockler.com. Anything you want to promote.
Yeah, no. Lastly, I just want to say thank you guys so much. This has been so enjoyable. We're going to go members only. You guys are so kind. You make us smile. We love you so much. And quickly for my stream, I'm going to end here as well. Cam T, thank you so much for $10. Love seeing you and Adam.
Andrew, thank you so much.
Yeah, love seeing you and Adam together. You're so kind. Goes such a long way. Mildred, I believe. Mildred. I can speak so
Close.
good. Colbert for president, $20. I appreciate the super chat. You guys are so awesome. Thank you guys so much for being on my stream as well. I appreciate you so much. And we'll be back on Monday.
Andrew Daw, thank you for the $20.
You guys are incredible.
We will see you guys in the after show.
Yeah, sounds good.